How to stop procrastination and increase motivation. Guys, today we're gonna react to Huberman. Huberman? I'm just a normal Brazilian dude not trying, in a journey to live procrastination. But this name is very hard to pronounce. Huberman. I don't know. But pick your paper, your pen, your pencil, something to make notes. And we can share in the end of the video. So let's go.
So how can we overcome procrastination? Well, it turns out that there are findings from within the addiction literature that turn out to be very powerful towards leveraging our way out of procrastination. And it has to do with this. You already know, because I've told you probably a dozen times now, that the depth of the trough after a dopamine peak is proportional to how high that peak was and how steep it was, how quickly that peak occurred. It turns out that not only is the depth of the trough proportional to that, but the rate at which you get out of that trough is proportional to how steep that trough is. Let me explain this for you in as clear terms as I possibly can. Imagine you're in an amotivated state. You're just not feeling motivated. You're procrastinating. You may think, okay, the thing to do here is something. I'll clean the house. I'll take care of some bills. I'll do something. Or I'll just wait. Those approaches, as we talked about before, generally don't work, or at least don't work quickly. Or
it's my approach for everything. Do something else. Avoid the big thing I have to do. That's hurt a lot, and I don't know why I do that. But procrastination, it's hard.
Or they lead you right up to the deadline, and that's the deadline that forces you to get something done. Or you just don't get it done and you don't succeed in your goal. That happens a lot as well.
True.
However, if you were to take that state of being unmotivated, of procrastinating, and actually do something that's harder than being in that amotivated state, in other words, doing something that's more effortful, even painful, you can rebound yourself out of that dopamine trough much more quickly. So what do I mean you want to put yourself in a state that's worse than or harder than the state that you're in, or do something quote unquote more painful? And here I want to be very clear. I'll say this 3 times, but I'm going to say it for the first time now. When I say more painful, I do not mean doing any kind of tissue damaging or psychologically damaging behavior or anything of that sort that's going to render you injured or not well, even in the short term. That's not what I'm referring to, okay? Let's just get that one out of the way. What I'm referring to is the fact that, for instance, if you're feeling amotivated, but you find yourself cleaning the house as a way to procrastinate, you can say, well, cleaning the house is harder than sitting down and doing nothing. But actually, in that moment or in those moments, that's not the case, or else you wouldn't be doing it. The reality is that the dopamine system works according to what feels hard or easy in the moment. In other words, if you're feeling amotivated, you need to do something and put yourself into a state that's harder than the state you're in. So for instance, if you're sitting around feeling amotivated, or you find yourself tending to tasks that are irrelevant to the goal that you really should be focused on, you need to put your body and mind into a state of discomfort quickly. And the way to do that is to either engage in some tangential activity, meaning an activity not related to your goal that puts your body into a very different state. So here again, I'll default to the obvious.
Like what? Ice bath? Something like that?
One, which is something like cold shower or cold immersion, which not only increases dopamine long term, or over several hours rather, but
I have to say, I live in Brazil. I'm just a normal Brazilian dude, and I live in, how can I say that in English? Nordeste in Portuguese, but northeast, I guess northeast. Okay.
Northeast.
Yeah, and line of how can you say that? one second, guys. Ecuador line. I live in the Ecuador line, and everything's hot over here. You know, the shower is hot, the weather is hot, everything is hot. So it's kind of hard to take a ice bath or something like that, and it's quite expensive to me to buy the ice, you know, to really do a ice bath. But it's more like an excuse, but is a fact.
But for most people is experienced as pain. That pain causes a rebound out of that dopamine trough faster than it would occur if you had just stayed in that amotivated state and waited for it to go away, or done something like cleaning up that for whatever reason felt like it required less friction. When I say friction, I mean limbic friction. Your limbic system is always in this dialogue.
It's like to leave inertia. How guys, today's the day. How can you pronounce that?
Inertia.
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 Inertia. Yeah, I guess he's trying to tell us to leave the inertia. Inertia. I don't know. This word is kind of hard to pronounce too, but yeah, it's something. It's something like you're doing nothing. You are procrastinating, but clean the house. It's almost the same to do nothing. You know, you are doing some activity, but this activity is not moving you out of the inertia. He's trying to say to break the inertia and really kick in, you know, the activity, like ice bath or something like that. That really breaks the inertia.
Dialogue with your forebrain. And limbic friction goes two ways. Limbic friction can be you're tired and you don't want to do something, and so you have to, quote unquote, motivate to do it, energize yourself to do it. Or limbic friction can be that you're nervous and scared and anxious to do something, and you have to calm yourself in order to lean forward into action in order to do that thing despite the anxiety. I realize this can be a little bit confusing as a concept, so I want to go into a bit more detail. Let's imagine that you or somebody else does not like to exercise. You don't want to exercise, and you're trying to get your minimum of 5 days per week exercise, and you're just not motivated to do it. There are a couple different techniques to doing this. Assuming you've taken care of all the baseline stuff, all the foundational stuff we talked about earlier, and you're just not getting in gear, and you find yourself, checking your phone, or maybe you're tending to some tasks, obviously those things are, quote unquote, easier for you, meaning they cause less limbic friction than engaging in exercise. The typical advice would be just exercise for 1 minute, okay? Just get 1 minute of exercise, or 5 minutes, and then use the successful completion of that 1 or 5 minutes as a milestone that allows you to then move to the next milestone. And indeed, that approach can work, and it's exactly what I'm describing here when I say that you're in a state of lack of motivation or procrastination or both, and you need to put yourself into a more painful, not less painful state. So what do? You push up against that friction and you exercise for a short while, and then that pops you out of that trough. That's possible, but for a lot of people, even that won't be possible because they just can't get motivated, or they do that 1 minute or 5 minutes and they're just like, okay, I'm still in the trough. I'm not actually feeling that great. In those circumstances, it makes sense to do something that's tangential to the whole path that you're trying to pursue, this goal that you're trying to pursue. That is, believe it or not, much worse than just being amotivated. And when I say worse, I don't mean picking some task that normally you don't like to do, but now you're willing to do. I mean, literally thinking about what would be worse than being in this state. Again, without causing yourself tissue or psychological damage. What would be worse? Well, Cold water would be worse for many people, very cold water. So the key is to figure out something that, for lack of a better way to put it, really sucks, and yet is safe. And by doing that, you steepen the trough, you steepen the slope of the trough, which we know brings you back to your baseline level of dopamine more quickly. Now, for some people, that will be deliberate cold exposure through cold shower, ice bath. And I have to tell you that if you're cringing as I say this, well, then there you go. You now have a tool that you know you cringe even when you just think about, and therefore represents a great tool for you. So if I'm procrastinating to do something I really need to do, should I just simply wait for that procrastination to evaporate? No. Will it eventually evaporate? Maybe. Will a deadline eventually surface that will trigger me into an anxious or
It's kind of dangerous to wait the procrastination go away, because you can be accommodated. It's a word in English. You'll be comfortable in the procrastination, feeling. So it's better to take some kind of action. When you know you are procrastinating, don't. I'm telling that to me. It's better to do something. Do something, because you can be very easily comfortable in the procrastination state, and that's not good. Not good at all. I've been there.
activated state that will allow me to complete what needs to be done? Maybe. Hopefully. But better would be to get out of that amotivated state, that state of procrastination, quickly.
So, I write something. It's kind of funny. 1 second. Mosquito. So, I write down two phrases, and it's kind of funny. I write down one in Portuguese and another one in English. I don't know why. But, yeah. So, the first one I will say in Portuguese and translate to you guys. Colocar em cenário mais difícil. So, it's like he said, put you in a... how can I say that in English? In a... scenario, it's correct in English, but put you in a difficult place more than your task you want to do its own, It's like he's saying, don't do enough and go to do some cleaning or something like easy to you. Do something like very difficult, like ice bath or something to break the inertia. English sometimes it's painful. I'm putting in. It's kind of good to me because I'm training my brain to think and speak in English. It's healthy to your brain, but yeah. The another phrase is 1 to 5 minutes trying to really do the task. I'm gonna put something else over here. So, I said the last one. 1 to 5 minutes, the task you are you are procrastinating. Yeah, I'm gonna try that, really 1 to 5 minutes, really trying what I'm procrastinating. And the last thing I wrote down is eu tomar banho gelado sempre que ficar desmotivado. Take a cold shower every time I get dismotivated. Yeah, I'm gonna try 2 things to see. you know what happens. I never tried the first one. I tried 1 to 5 minutes doing the task. It's sometimes works, sometimes don't. But the cold shower, every time I feel dismotivated, I never try. I gonna try. I'm maybe I gonna use that to escape something. I don't know how I'm gonna feel about that, but I'm gonna try. You know, it's again, cold shower here in Brazil is not that bad. It's sometimes good, so it's not. I'm gonna cringe or something like that when I get in. But yeah, that's the video today. Some notes, and I see you tomorrow in another motivation or procrastination video about it. And you're gonna watch my reaction and share my thoughts. So, see you guys in a next video.